rolls, crits, weird AI, bad encounters, and very, very silly mistakes. The people who have had the chance to encounter all of these 4 terrifying events are called Nuzlockers. Hello guys, my name is Chubb. Before the video starts, I wanted to mention my plans for this channel. I'm currently working very hard on learning how to be efficient with creating content and just learning new things in general, but I haven't gotten anywhere near where I need to be yet. So as of now, I have plans to release a full-length video every month, and my goal for this year is to shed that number down to around every 3 weeks. It's going to be a tough process, but I hope you guys will stick around to support me while I try my best to make fun content for you all. Anyways, onto the video. Pokémon Emerald, a Pokémon game loved by many for a pretty good reason. I mean, you can actually now jump into the deep depths of the sea.
Hello, how are you? I am under the water.
And just an extra little cool thing that isn't nearly as awesome as that is having this cute little feller in the game. Don't let us looks fool you though, this thing turns into an actual beast if trained properly. Even though it's definitely a strong Pokémon, and I do love my water ground types, what if I decided to go a different route and choose an even better Pokémon than Mudkip? Well, at least a cooler Pokémon to me. Well, that's what we're gonna be doing. Sorry Mudkip, but you make this game a little too easy for my liking. I hope me and this awesome Pokemon I'm gonna get will have the bestest of times together. But before we can do anything though, we should probably find a way out of this van. Ugh, I should have known better. That guy offering a cotton candy lollipop was too good to be true. Huh? The doors are opening. Oh? What? I don't know what just happened, but I guess we made it back home. Well, after being confused for a little while, I decided to head off in search of the Pokemon I wanted. That's where I came across this weird guy who smelled like cheeks running in circles with a bag next to him. So me being the good person I am, I ended up cleaning out his bag a little bit. And what would you know, he had the exact Pokemon I was looking for. What are the chances? I quickly put the Pokeball in my inventory, then dipped, and started running north to hopefully not get caught. Huh? Who's this girl up here? Wait! I don't think I'll be able to hold back the sheer awesomeness of my yeah. I beat her. I ended up heading back to grab my running shoes, but for some reason I smelled something a little off.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
Anyways, let's skip ahead to some of my earliest encounters. On Route 102, I caught a Poochyena, and on Route 103, I was able to catch this silly little bird called Wingull. After I got through some easy trainers, I got to Petalburg City where I meet my dad Norman, who has Wally teach me how to catch a Pokemon. Once I finally learned how to catch a Pokemon for the first time, we go into Route 4, where I find this red bouncy ball on the ground. I decided to pick it up and put it in my bag, just so if I wanted to I could play with it later. Oh, and this is also the route where I was able to catch a Marill with huge power. This will be pretty solid for early to mid game since it gets its final stage evolution before the second gym, but if we were to get into the later parts of the game, it tends to be completely outclassed by many, so it falls off pretty hard. But nonetheless, it's a pretty solid encounter. After I'd caught the Marill, I swiftly headed into Petalburg Woods. Once I got into the woods, I was kinda lost, so I was just twiddling and fidgeting, and in the process of trying to figure out my way through the woods, I saw this rock on the ground which I decided to kick into a tree, but when it hit the tree, it suddenly started squirming around, then crazily enough, this thing started to charge right towards me. But to help not use up all the time I have, let's skip ahead a few minutes later to where I end up catching and befriending this thing, and naming it Mushy. Oh yeah, I figured out it was a little mushroom Pokemon the entire time.
Bruh.
We start to move forward where we encounter this Buster who we take out in the blink of an eye, and then we book it out of there. We beat up some little kids outside and decided to teach my Trico Bullet Seed for this upcoming gym. After finally making it to Rustboro City, I started barging in people's houses, and inside one of the houses, some dude gave me the HM for cut. Hey, I'll take it. After probably scaring the entire city, I ran off to Rust Turf Tunnel. This is where I catch a Whismur who should definitely give up his dreams of singing. On my way out to the first gym, I ended up encountering a Tailo who seemed pretty friendly, so I let it join my team. I go to the Pokemon Center to change my team up a little, and once we're done, it's time to challenge the gym leader, Roxanne. Now, this fight is super easy. I just stand with Trico and spam Bullet Seed, and then every once in a while, use Absorb when needed. It did get a little scary as the nose pass trapped me in, but it was nothing my Trico couldn't handle. The next time I probably should give my Trico a berry or maybe even get the Miracle Seed back in Petalburg Woods. But no point in thinking about optimizing things when I still have a ton of grueling fights ahead of me. Within the next little while, we meet this old guy with a boat who offers to take me to Doofer Town for saving his Pokemon from some bad guys. I accept, but not before having a very difficult battle with May. Alright, going back to where I left off. This nice old fella decided to take me to Doofer Town. Here we can encounter 3 Pokemon before the gym. We can get an encounter from Route 106, Route 107, and Granite Cave. Between these 3 areas, we get a Tentacle, Magikarp, and a Makuhita, which now really leaves us with only one more thing to do. Take on the gym leader, Brawly. But before we do that, the tailor I briefly mentioned earlier has an important role in this fight. Actually, it has the only role. I'm sure most of you know about the ability Guts. But for those who don't know, basically if you have any status condition affecting your Pokemon with ability Guts, whether it be paralysis, burn, or poison, it boosts all of the user's attack by 1.5 times. It also ignores the minus attack debuff from burn. So by going over to Route 107, I'd be able to get myself poisoned from a Tentacle, which would activate the ability, which would make it so my Tailor would output massive damage against the fighting types. So I go on and do exactly that, getting my Tailor poisoned and then shuffling my way into the gym. From the first gym trainer's Pokemon to the last gym leader's Pokemon, I had needed only one wing attack to kill every single one of the Pokemon here held in this gym. This will definitely be the last freebie for my team and I. I should probably enjoy it while I can, and then once I'm ready, focus on up to prevent tragedy from striking in the near future. As the next gym leader Watson, it's going to be by far the most difficult challenge in this game for my team, considering he has a Magneton, and there really are minimal answers to that before his gym if you don't choose Mudkip or Torchic. But wait, I've encountered 2 fighting types which should easily be able to deal with that massive problem. And yes, although it does solve that massive problem, something happens within my head in which I really cannot explain. I'll delve deeper into that when the timing comes. But for now, we go deliver a message to Steven Stone, which was given to us by his father within the short amount of time between me fighting Roxanne and me getting on the boat. To show his gratitude, he tossed over the TM for Steel Wing, which I would gladly accept. Now that we finished that, there's now nothing for us to do here. So we go talk to the nice old fella again, and he offers to take me to Route 109 that leads into Slateport City. So I take him up on that offer, and we have a chill time on the boat, before he aggressively tosses me out at the destination and angrily tells me that he had thought I was paying for these trips, and then he leaves without even saying goodbye. What a silly man, why would I ever give him my money when I can use it to buy myself Pokemon games? After accepting that I was now stranded here, I start heading north into the city to look around and find anything helpful. I found and talked to this man who started yapping, his words coming through one of my ears and not through the other. I decide to leave while he's distracting himself by talking about how having 4 toes is actually much more preferable than 5, and how he's not huffing a whole bunch of copium or something. I get out of there and walk up towards this aquarium where I found out the buster from earlier called up his friends to try to steal some goldfish, and so obviously I wanted to get in on the action, but when they saw me, they freaked out and gave me the TM for the thief and ran away. I walk upstairs to tell the scientist that he'd just been robbed, and he didn't even respond. I guess that's karma for ignoring the other dude. Maybe I should have given him the benefit of the doubt and listened to what he had to say. Nah. I went to turn and leave when all of a sudden I get rushed by 2 of the thieves from earlier, who were confused as hell because apparently they were taking a shit when their buddies ran away. To shorten this story down so we can get back to our journey, it ended with them getting into a fist fight with a goldfish. Once that strange encounter was over, I go around looking for where my next encounter will be. It ended up being on Route 110, a little to the north of Slateport. I went to run around in the grass and soon found a Minun, which honestly is pretty nice to have. Yes, it's not the greatest Pokemon or anything, but it does its job pretty dang well for where we're at in this game. So I'm happy with it. I keep walking north and pass someone who smelled really bad. He looked pretty familiar, but I'm not sure why. We go a little further and May comes running in out of nowhere and wants a rematch, so I accept. And somehow my Minun is able to take out her entire team all by itself with a lucky few paralyses. Minun, you're the GOAT. Before we move on, I wanted to get this off my chest because it has frustrated me to no end. After this May fight, I had a script going over probably the next 10 to 5 minutes, which may not seem like a lot, but I spent hours upon hours writing it, and it was probably the best written part so far. But when I saved it in my notepad and returned to the same file, there was nothing to be found. It's nothing crazily bad, but my god, it made me so sad, and it made me feel like just ranting about it. But anyways, like everything else in life, you just gotta keep pushing forward, so let's continue the journey. Once we finish the battle with May, I dash my way over to Mauville City, which is home to the biggest, the greatest, the awesomest game corner! I ran my way over there, and within 30 minutes to an hour of playing slots, I was kinda balling with tokens. Well, after figuring out that it would take forever to actually be able to buy the main thing I came here for, which were the displayed teams that caught my eye, I gave up on it and ended up walking out of there. That's when I noticed that there was a building resembling a gym right behind the game corner, and for some reason my boy Wally was just standing in front of it. So I took it as a chance to have a good warm-up before I had my try at the gym. But really, it wasn't much of a warm-up. I just walked away from it kind of feeling bad for the kid. But on we go, into the gym. We stroll up to Watson with this team, and you would probably think that my team could completely shut down Watson's team, which it definitely can, but guess who decided to get rid of every huge advantage they had managed to obtain thus far? Yeah, I for some reason wanted to try and beat Watson without using my fighting types. Probably to boost my confidence and just have a little fun, but you would think if I had come up with this idea that maybe I would have an amazing plan or at least something, right? Well, let's see what I had managed to cook up within the past 5 minutes. I had led my Loudred as Watson led with his Voltorb. Right off the bat, the Voltorb gets a crit spark, which already sucks, but before that even happened, I went and clicked that little button labeled Uproar. Now, normally Uproar is a good move to use to do some pretty solid damage at the cost of being locked into using the move for a few turns, which I was okay with, but this time, the only thing it accomplished was giving this Voltorb a free turn. So, there's a few Pokemon with this ability called Soundproof, that when a Pokemon that has this ability is hit with a move that is sound-based, it negates all of the effects of that move. This Voltorb is one of the few that actually have this ability, so Uproar being the sound-based move that it is, did absolutely nothing. So at this point, I was feeling pretty dang goofy, and to try to attempt to fix the mistake that I had made, I clicked on Pound. But before I could even use the move, this Voltorb decided he had enough of the goober standing in front of him.
And decided to f***ing explode.
Now honestly, for the battle, it was probably pretty good for me, but I was disappointed in myself for making my Loudred look like a fool before death. Sorry Loudred. Anyways, the battle continues as I decide to throw out my Grovyle as Watson decides to send out his Electrike. I went for a Bullet Seed, getting it down to about half as I took a weak Quick Attack. And then I decided to swap to my Hariyama since I had other plans for my little leaf friend. After I used Fake Out on Electrike, making Watson use a potion, I used a couple arm thrusts that were strong enough to finish it off. Now out comes the big guy, Magneton. This is where my plan comes into play. I go and send out my Grovyle once again, and choose to try and get as many Screeches off as possible to get the Magneton's defense as low as can be before being forced to swap out. I managed to get off 2 Screeches, making their defense -4 before I'm forced to swap. I go into my Gyarados, who has the HM Rock Smash as one of his moves. But somehow I hadn't noticed that this Magneton started using an electric type move against my Grovyle. So when I went to swap in the Gyarados, like the turn before, it used Shockwave, which is 4 times super effective, plus stab. So as my Gyarados swapped in, it got instantly killed. Oh my god, it survived. Alright, I should probably fix this and swap out to one of my fighting types. I would really like to know what kind of stupid juice I was drinking that night to result in killing my Gyarados like this. This Gyarados had friends, he had a family, he had a life worth living, and here I am taking it away from him. I pretty much killed him with my bare hands. And all I've got to remember him by is an overcooked fish in the 18th box of my PC. What have I done? This Gyarados never did anything bad. He never did anything to deserve what's happened to him. Am I really supposed to be the person stopping the bad guys here? Me? When I can't even prevent a death so preventable? Me? Who was the one that had done the act resulting in his death? I guess this goes to show that even heroes of their own story can be the villains of others. I'm so sorry that I failed you, Gyarados. I won't ever make a mistake that creatively dumb again. I'm gonna try to make up for the tragedy that occurred today by having the team and I give our all to defeat this gym and push forward, heads held up high, waiting to give our all for the future gym leaders. I will not fail you, Gary. Hey, I mean at least it makes for a good emergency food. As the Magneton looks my way with no remorse in his eyes, I send out my Breloom, which is able to dispatch of that creature using a single Mach Punch. The next and final Pokemon out for Watson is his Manectric. I'm able to do a little bit of chip damage to it before I'm forced to swap out into my Hariyama, who's able to handle the rest, albeit sorta close. We've done it. We have obtained the 3rd gym badge, though I wouldn't say that I've earned it. To prevent anything else disastrous from happening, I decide that I was done for now and to call it a day. After a good night's rest, I wake up and start our journey again. Our next goal is Meteor Falls. On the way there, I was able to catch a Geodude, which I ended up evolving into a Golem for my team, a Swablu, and a few others that won't really be used. I also had evolved my Tailo into a Swellow on the journey, so I'm feeling pretty good again as I head over to Meteor Falls. Once I finally made it, my legs were about to give out from the long travel. It felt like we just walked the entire world, but we finally have made it to Meteor Falls. I go inside and the first thing I see is this cool waterfall, but in the corner of my eye I see the goldfishmen from earlier. They seem to be having a little argument with some guys wearing all red, so I go over there to see what's transpiring, but it turned out that the guys in red were already heading out to go to Mount Chimney with some sort of meteorite or something. So they left, and then the fish people came up to me and randomly declared me their leader because apparently they had heard something about how I was ripping off an old dude for free rides, and they liked my style of doing things. So I obviously agree and make an order for them to head to Mount Chimney with me. When I had arrived there 10 minutes later, I didn't actually expect them to have gone through with it. I thought they were just joking around. Man, the boys really pulled up in this place. So I'm feeling like an absolute badass as I start battling people left and right until I make it to their leader. And expecting him to be as hostile as the rest, I instantly threw my ball at him, but he stepped to the side and my ball started going towards the lava. No, not my Golem! Oh wait, that was my bouncy ball. This time I grab my real Pokeball and aim for the floor so that doesn't happen again. And with minimal effort, I breezed through his entire team. With that over with, we head on down to Lava Ridge Town where we'll have our next gym fight. But before that, I grab an egg from this old man and hatch it into a Wynot that I'll evolve into a Wobbuffet to take with me to the gym. I also burn my Swellow for the Guts ability to activate. Now I head on in the gym where I clear the trainers and get to Flannery.